I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on the Spotlight Network, we're addressing one of the most critical issues of our time, teen mental health. We're talking to a powerful author, a wonderful woman, and one of my favorite guests. Her name is Dr. Dorris Woods. In her book, Breaking Point, the doctor explores the concept of Psyache, the hidden pain behind youth suicide, and offers actionable solutions to help prevent these tragedies. From understanding the vulnerabilities of teenagers to addressing the risks of fentanyl, this is a conversation that is vital for every parent, every educator, and every community member. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Prime 7 Media for helping us put her in the spotlight today, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her amazing book. The links are below the interview. Doris, so good to see you here today. Welcome back.
Thank you, Logan.
It's my pleasure. Great to have you back on the show. The book is called Breaking Point. Tell us why you called it that.
Breaking point is that situation where the individual can no longer tolerate the reality of this world and he or she wants to leave it. And the pain is so profound that they have tunnel vision, and that is all that they can think about is just getting away, doing away, relieving themselves of the pain. So that's why it's called psyche. We can't see it, but they feel it.
Yeah. Like a psychological ache, like a terrible
Yes.
headache, a burden, a pain
Yes.
that you're bearing. It seems inconceivable to me that a young person would consider ending their life. But it's not inconceivable for a lot of teens out there, unfortunately. What do you think leads them to being so dark, so depressed, so desperate that they would take their life?
There are so many factors, Logan.
Mm.
There are so many factors. And some of us, even though we are equal as human beings, we were not all equal in terms of what we inherited or our circumstances, our environment. So there's the environment and the external environment and the internal environment. And sometimes you can fix the external environment and that helps the individual. But sometimes the internal environment, because you can't see it, you
Yeah.
can't always fix it the way you'd like to. And sometimes it just depends on how well put together the person is. Because there are youth that survive horrendous circumstances, and you wonder how they did it. Now, Dr. Snyderman, and he's one of my all-time heroes, he says that it depends on the vulnerability of the individual, whether the individual is vulnerable to what's going on around them and how well together they are inside. So that's what he says. The individual's youth has to be vulnerable. Vulnerability was always one of his key words as to whether the child or the teenager would commit suicide. So it depends on the stress factors, internal and external,
Yeah.
and then how well together the individual is.
Yeah. How can parents recognize the signs of psyache in their own children?
Withdrawal, not being able to stand up for themselves, being bullied. See, some kids would do okay if they were not bullied. So they get to feel low self-esteem and they kind of withdraw, and next thing you know, they're depressed and depression sets in and they would like to just remove themselves. But parents sometimes it's hard for them to tell because the individual can wear such a mask that you don't see it. You don't see it. They just keep on behaving what we call as normal. And
Right.
normal, and you think they are normal, and then the next thing you know, they've either hung themselves or taken an overdose.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. It's difficult, but it's not. It's not hard to help, but
Yeah.
always encourage talking. A lot of times, if they can talk about what it is that's going on with them, talk therapy is very valuable.
Yeah. Fentanyl is another equation in all this. So
Well,
many fentanyl deaths nowadays. It's hard to tell if they're suicide or accidental deaths or somewhere in between. Talk to us a little bit about why fentanyl is so significant in the conversation about unintended deaths.
it was important to me to mention that when the book was revised, it was fentanyl death, because so many of the children, they are experimenting to a large extent with all sorts of different substances, and they think they're taking one thing and they're taking something else. And that's a very powerful drug. So awareness is one of the reasons that I mentioned fentanyl in the book, and advise parents to talk with teenagers about not just taking anything from anybody, because many of the time people who are selling it don't always know what's in
Exactly.
there. It is so
Exactly. If
powerful.
you're
So
buying drugs on the street, it's not the most
yes,
reliable source. Yeah.
no, it's not. Well, they shouldn't be buying drugs in the first place, but that's
Agreed.
beside the point. They're going to do
Agreed.
it. But
Um,
warning them about taking something that anybody sells. Sometimes it's a party and they
yeah.
see how this
Yeah.
works or this and the next thing. But I don't think they are aware of just how powerful that drug is. It's
Exactly.
a drug for surgery. I had it when I had an operation. I had it as a surgery, but
Mm.
it's not for recreational use.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. A tiny amount, a couple of small granules are enough to kill you.
Tiny,
Yeah.
so small. And yet a life is wiped out
Yeah.
because
Amazing. Talk to us a little bit about how your personal experiences, including the story of your teenage brother, have influenced this book.
when I started doing research, I did my dissertation on substance abuse in teenagers and suicide. But it that really had not influenced me. I look back and I said that wasn't. I just wondered what it is that makes a teenager want to commit suicide. I think you mentioned that briefly about why they would get to that point. But in his case, it was a circumstance with my dad.
Mm.
And my dad was more like a boss. In fact, all of us now, all of my brothers and sisters called him boss
Mm.
because he behaved like a boss man rather than a father
Mm.
trying to teach and rear children. And I had a brother that was very close to the one that tried to commit suicide, but they were two different people. One, the older one, he could not take it. He could not take what my dad was doing. The other one, shrugged it off like, so I can do something else. I don't have to react to what he's saying. But he was a mean man, Logan. He was a mean man, quick tempered, and it's like he would knock you into yesterday just crossed him. Yeah. So, like I say, these two brothers were close together, but so different. One would react to what he was doing, the other one didn't. So that's what I'm saying. You don't know what's going on, what the internal environment is like.
Exactly, exactly. What do you hope readers take away from this book?
Logan, I think they'll be informed. I think they'll learn why it's so painful for some people to continue living or wanting to live. I think it teaches the things that you should and shouldn't do, rear child rearing, to be able to listen, to be able to talk. And if you find somebody that's acutely suicidal, that you get them to a place where you can have some physical activity. I found that helps. Physical activity in open air and distract them, at least for the time being. If you can distract them, then you find other things that will continue to help them and until you can get them either removed from that environment or the stressor that's causing them the problem.
Absolutely. This is a wake-up call for parents, a wake-up call for educators, administrators, members of the community, and teenagers themselves. The name of the book is Breaking Point. It's written by Dr. Dorris Woods. It explores the concept of Psyache, the hidden pain behind youth suicide.
Psyache.
The book offers actionable solutions to help prevent these tragedies, and from understanding the vulnerabilities of teenage children to addressing the risks of fentanyl. This is a book that's vital for every parent, educator, and community member. Doctor, thank you so much for joining me here today on Spotlight.
Thank you, Logan.
I appreciate your time and your wisdom and your insight. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.